Hi everyone, this is Daniel Alley, and today I'm with White House chef John Moeller. Now, John worked at the White House from 1992 to 2005, and he wrote his new book, Dining at the White House. John, I'm so happy to have you here.
It's great to be here.
You served 3 presidents, George H.W. Bush, you served Bill Clinton, and you also served George W. Bush.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So tell me exactly how you got into the White House. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, that's the biggest question. I mean, there was no Craigslist back then to go in and find a job like that. So back in the 80s, I had an opportunity to go work over in Europe. I worked in France for about 2.5 years, from 1984 to 85 and 86. And then after I came back to the States, I had an opportunity to go down to the Virgin Islands. At the end of the season, I came back up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania is where I'm from, landed in D.C., found a job the very first day I was in D.C. at this French-style restaurant off of Dupont Circle, and the chef was French-Belgian. He saw a couple of the places I worked in France and said, hey, I need somebody who can start tomorrow. Wow. So within 5-6 hours, I'm living and working in D.C. Wow. And after a couple of weeks of working with him, on a Friday night after service, he said, hey, John, why don't you come with me tonight? All the French chefs in Washington get together once in a while, and tonight's the night. We're going down to the Mayflower, have a few beverages, and do a little networking with the other chefs. So he said, your French is good enough, you can hang with us. So I went down there, and every French chef in Washington was there. This is back in 1987. Wow. So I got to know a few of them, and afterwards, every once in a while, we get together in those little outings. And this one chef I became friends with that evening, a couple years later, became a sous chef at the White House. Yeah. A year and a half later after that, he gave me a call one day and said, hey, John, I'm the sous chef, up for the chef position. Now we need somebody to find my job as sous chef. Would you be interested? I said, oh, let me think about this. Absolutely. I mean, what do I got to do, you know? What do I got to sign? So when we sat down to talk about it, he said there's 5 chefs full-time in the White House kitchen. You have 2 in the pastry, 3 in the cooking side. He said, I'm French-born, but you have to be American citizen to work full-time. The pastry chef is French-born, but he's American citizen too. I could bring another Frenchman in that's an American citizen, but I think it's too many French people. So what I'm looking for is an American that knows something about French cooking. And so that little séjour in France is what set me apart from the other candidates and got me in.
Wow. So that one opportunity led for you to be in the White House. When you got there, you must have been starstruck. You must have been surprised to see all those people there, you know, greeting the presidents, the heads of states, and all the, you know, people that go into the White House. I mean, what is it about the White House that makes it so distinctive? What do people need to know about it?
Well, first of all, it's a home. It's the home of the president. Right. So one of our main job there was to make the house a home for him. So when they live on the second floor, between the chefs, the butlers, and the maids, we were the closest ones to them on a day-to-day basis because we were up there taking care of them, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all their personal needs. But when we did have the official functions going on there, it was extraordinary just to kind of see, you look out in that dining room and see, you know, Jacques Chirac of France, or Helmut Kohl, or some big movie star is all out there. I'll never forget one day we had the Italian prime ministers there for dinner, for state dinner. I'm looking at the dining room and I said, boy, who's that good looking woman at the president's table? And I said, oh, that's not an ordinary woman, that's Sophia Loren, you know, and she was absolutely stunning, you know. And so it was kind of neat to kind of watch history unfold in front of you almost every single day.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Who are some other famous people that you served? How about Queen of England?
Queen of England, not. I did do Prince Charles, though, and Camilla. They came in the last year I was there. Mm-hmm.
So was there any special delicacies that people asked for? Anything that you've done that was like wild?
Nothing that was too crazy. When the foreign dignitaries coming to the White House, their embassy will forward to the State Department dietary restrictions. Right. And they will send that to us, and we would look at that first. Allergies, likes, dislikes, and then I would start constructing a menu once I see those. But there was nothing that was too out of the ordinary. Although once there was the Prime Minister of Italy coming in, and on it said, does not eat onions, garlic, and tomatoes. What's up with that, you know? You must be an imposter or something like that, you know? But I was thinking about it afterwards. I know how those guys work a little bit. Maybe everywhere he goes, they put onion, garlic, and tomatoes in his food. He goes, hey, I get enough of that at home. Yeah. You know, when I'm out there, just tell them I don't eat that stuff, you know?
Right,
so
right.
You never know. But what was also great to do was to showcase American food. Right. You know, we would look at seasonal ingredients, local ingredients that are in season, and it drives to what my whole motto is. It's all about the ingredients. Yeah. You know, if you start off with bad ingredients, even though you know how to cook, you may not end up with a good product. So ingredients is the most important part. So I spent a lot of time back then, and even now in my catering business, I really spend a lot of time looking for the right ingredients that's going to accentuate and give me what I'm looking for in that dish.
Right, right. And people love food, so it's something that everyone can relate to. What do you think was the favorite moment that you had working at the White House? If you had to pick one.
With a dignitary, it was probably when Nelson Mandela came there.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't about the food or anything, it's just the fact of what he'd went through his life and then ended up having his first official outing as president of South Africa to be at the White House.
Did you get to talk to him?
I did not. I saw him from a distance there, but it was just one of those little tingling evenings there, you know?
Yeah. But you got to talk to a lot of people, though.
Yeah, I got a chance to see a few. And the other one would probably be when Julia Child showed up for dinner.
Wow.
Actually, it was a luncheon, and I didn't know she was going to be there until 5 minutes before service. And I was doing the luncheon. It was my menu, and I completely had a brain freeze. I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, you know. Yeah. But you just kind of went with it, and after lunch was served, that iconic figure showed up in our kitchen and said, hello, you know, and she thanked us for a great meal. And then about a week later, she wrote this beautiful letter to Mrs. Clinton, which I have in my book here, saying how much she enjoyed her visit there. Wow. And thank you very much.
Wow, that's so cool. What do you tell new people that, you know, they want to become a chef, or not even just a chef, but people that they want to get into the creative fields? Maybe they want to be a photographer, a videographer, or an artist, or a musician, or, you know, they want to get into acting. And people are telling them they're crazy and they can't do it and they can't make money. What do you tell people who, you know, they just need a little bit of hope? You know, what were some of the things that led you in the beginning?
I've been in the kitchens since I was 15 years old. I started working at Franklin Marshall College up the street where I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And then one thing led to another. I went to a culinary school up in Providence, Rhode Island, Johnson and Wales. And inside me, I always felt I wanted to be a chef. Right. I used to watch The Galloping Gourmet when I was a kid. Yeah. And then watched a little bit of Julia Child and those shows that were pretty much only on PBS back then. It wasn't until like the 90s when, you know, the Food Network came around, and I'm not sure exactly when the word foodie became in the dictionary, but all that really changed the scope of it all. But before that all happened, I just felt the need to serve, and I wanted to learn something about it. And I remember my parents gave me this book called The Great Chefs of France. And I remember reading about these chefs in this book here and what they've done and what they aspire to. And I kept thinking, you know, what I was doing, there has to be something else out there. Inside me, I kept saying, I want to go out and do this. But the main thing I did want to do is look back on time and say, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have did that. I heard those words from an old gentleman when I was a kid there, and I never forgot about it. You know, I never want to look back and say, you know, I wish I would have did something a little bit different in my life. So when I was 22, I said, what the heck? I'm going to buy that one-way ticket to Europe, put a backpack on, and let me see what happens. Right. Did I speak French? No. Did I have a job lined up? I did not. But I just felt like I have to do this now. This is the time to do it, and it worked out. It just worked out, but keep driving at it. Yes, after a month or so, I was almost ready to give up on the French language. So it was coming at me, and I was like, oh my God, this is just too much. My brain can't take this.
Right, right.
But also one day I was like, wait a second, I think I know what that guy just said. What is that word? And it just magically starts to happen.
And you saw progress.
It was.
Over time.
But you have to be patient sometimes. It does not happen overnight.
Exactly.
You have to pay your dues. Yeah. Yes. And one thing that's kind of interesting is when I worked in France, the last place I worked at, well, the second to last place I worked at was a 2-star Michelin restaurant. Right. And the guy was voted Chef of the Year in 1984. I was there in 1985. And when I went to his place, the chef I worked before gave me a letter and said, you need to go out and check out some other restaurants. I want you to see other things.
And by the way, guys, 2 stars is really big over there.
Yep. And 3 stars maximum. And they say, you know, if you're working at a 2-star restaurant trying to be a 3-star, those are the restaurants you want to be in. And that's what he was, 2-star working on his 3rd star. But he said to me, when I showed him the letter from my chef, and he looked at me, he goes, and in French, he goes, je paye pas. I don't pay. Yeah. But you can live here, and I'll feed you, but I don't pay for stagiaires. And I went back to my little place I was working at, and I was like, you know, how close am I ever going to come to a 2-star Michelin restaurant? And let's go back to the reason why I came to France. This is what I wanted to see. So I said, the heck with it. I dug it down, and I said, you know, I'm just going to be a little, you know, I was already living cheap. You know, I didn't have hardly anything. I was just getting by. But I was living in another country. Yeah. I was learning another way of life. I was learning a language. All those things, I never forgot how important those were when it was happening. Yeah. And I said, I'm gonna muscle down a little bit and deal with this. So for 6 months, I worked for free. Wow. But when I got to Washington, D.C., and I went to that French restaurant off DuPont Circle, the chef looked at the thing and said, "You worked at Loiseau's place." He didn't see the other restaurants. He said, "You worked at Loiseau's place. I need somebody. You can start here tomorrow."
That's a big deal. And, let me say something, guys, because he's giving you the recipes for success. And basically what it comes down is to go the extra mile. Do more than you're paid to do. He spent 6 months working for free. He didn't just land this opportunity in Washington, D.C. for no reason. He worked up to it, right?
Yes.
And he also took a risk. He bought a one-way ticket to France, learned as much as he could, even learned the language, and became a French chef.
If I would have bought a round-way ticket, I might have just given up and went back.
Exactly.
But I bought a one-way ticket, man, so I had to stick this out a little bit longer.
And then thirdly, he found a mentor, someone who can train him. Even if it was for free, he did whatever it took to learn everything he could about the profession in which he wanted to enter in. So, wow, that's really big, John.
I look back at times like, geez, if I didn't meet that one French chef in Washington, he was French-Belgian actually, who saw that place, and then 2 weeks later going out and having that drink with the other chefs, that chef eventually went to the White House. It was that one place. The place I worked for free might have actually got me the job at the White House.
Wow.
But there's no crystal ball to look ahead and say, this is what's going to happen. Right. You just keep moving ahead, keep driving at it, keep realizing your dreams and not giving up. Forget about the people. I had the naysayers. They thought I was nuts going over to France, But I said, no, I want to do this. This is what I want.
And guys, keep in mind, this is not a guy that works for money. He understands that he has to develop this passion. He had hunger for success, and he knew exactly what he wanted. He had the desire in his heart. He set a goal to become somebody, and that's exactly what he did. So I applaud you for being successful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, And of course, after leaving the White House a couple of years, I moved back to my hometown of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I started a catering business there. Then I met a local publisher, and voila, we worked on this book for 2.5 years. I never wrote a book before. Right. I didn't know what was involved with it, but it was a lot of work. It wasn't like, I'm going to just knock this out in a couple of weekends. It was a lot of work.
So we're talking about 30 months of full-time writing, concocting new dishes, coming up with new recipes, and actually putting in all those experiences that you learned at the White House and other places.
Starting off at 90,000 words and getting down to 65,000 words in the book here, But in the end, I got a gold medal for best autobiography, a gold medal for best cookbook, and a silver medal for best celebrity memoir. So I thought I was going to be a chef my whole life. Now I'm an award-winning author.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, with all the professional pressures that you faced at the White House, how did you go about dealing with your own personal pressures, at home? Because you have a wife, you have 2 kids. There's a lot of things that probably went on. What were some of the habits and routines and disciplines and overall mindset that you had when you approached the game of becoming the best chef you can be?
Well, fortunately at the time, I just said to my wife, this is going to control my life for a while here. And it's not like I can just take off any day and have somebody else come take my place. There's only 3 cooks in the chef, and only 3 chefs in the kitchen there. So I said, you stay home, you take care of the kids, and let us raise our kids also, which I thought was very important too, instead of being in daycare all day, which I understand why it's done, but in my situation, I couldn't just leave to go pick up one of my sons because he was feeling ill at school because the wife was working. So that I took off my plate and just let her take care of the kids.
It was a sacrifice, big sacrifice there.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice if she was working, have a 2-income family coming in. It would make things a little bit better, but it wasn't like I was, pinching pennies all either. But this is what I thought I needed to do.
And guys, keep in mind, it's instrumental to have support. If you're a working man or working woman, you need a spouse or a friend or someone in your life who can be the backbone to you, who can give you the support that you need, that can help you get to where you need to be. Right? It's really big.
Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, that's when we're the busiest at the White House. We got like 25,000 people can come through the White House. Multiple events of receptions for 500, dinners, lunches, breakfasts. It's nonstop. So I really don't see the family until about 2 days before Christmas, And it's you leave at maybe 6 o'clock in the morning, come back at 10 o'clock every night. But you have to do what you have to do.
Right. So what is it like sweating in there, laboring, preparing in the kitchen, and bumping elbows with some of the best chefs in the world, and also all the people running around? It must have been a great experience. I mean, what was it like to actually do business in that environment?
It was extraordinary. You never forgot. Every day when I walked through those gates and I put my pass through, and then I walk underneath that north portico, right underneath the north portico to go into where I had to go to, it was you felt energized by that. You're like, wow, this is just not walking to any old hotel or something like that. This is the White House, And then, knowing that you're taking care of the family every day. No 2 days were the same. You know, if there's different events going on or something happens in the world, you know, like on the cover of my book here is a pastry item, and I wasn't a pastry chef there, but one day I had to dig into my bag of tricks and make it happen because the president was up at Camp David, and suddenly got called back to the White House, and I was called in to take care of him, and like an hour to get in and make lunch for 6 people. And what happened that morning? The Space Shuttle Columbia crashed. Wow. And I was off that day because he was up at Camp David. Suddenly I'm thrown in to go down there. Within 35 minutes, I don't know how it happened, but I made a quick chicken tortilla lime soup and quesadillas, which is great quesadillas. You can put almost anything in those things and get going, but that was my go-to to make it happen. And then after lunch was served, Mrs. Bush came back and said, Laura Bush said, oh, thanks for lunch. Everything was great and coming in on short notice. And we feel so horrible about what happened with the shuttle. Yeah. So we talked about that for a moment. And then she goes, by the way, we're going to be 18 for dinner tonight. So of course, the only thing I could say was, yes, ma'am, you know. So I went downstairs and I had nothing. And we don't keep food sitting around on the weekend when they're at Camp David. Right. So I had to call with the engineers. I said, go get the van. I'm riding shotgun. We're driving up to Whole Foods, Safeway, went to the waterfront to get some fish, came back, and I'm there making this menu on the fly, and I'm the only one there. I didn't even think to call anybody else because most of the time I am cooking by myself. And then I said, what am I going to do for dessert? And there was nothing around, so I thought about this recipe for a warm flour chocolate torte. I said, let me go with that. I got called out twice in the dining room to talk about that dessert. They loved it so much, you know. And I was like, you know, sometimes the best creativity happens is when you're under fire. When you have to, I can't tell the president, can you give me 15 more minutes before we serve dinner? Right, you know, you have to make it happen. And sometimes your creativity comes out the best when you're under pressure.
How do you prepare your mind for something like that? What kind of habits do you have that actually gets you in that mindset?
Something I used to always tell myself was sometimes I'm making something with nothing. Yeah. Because you have to look at what is there, and sometimes it's not what you planned, that you have to divert it. And I did that all the time at the White House, and I even still do it today. You know, you can't get tunnel vision and say, this is the only way I can do it. This is what I got planned. This is the only way it's going to happen. You have to say, if this thing doesn't go exactly the way you want it, you have to make a tack and make it happen a different way. But the biggest thing that helps in that respect is experience. Yeah. You know, being exposed to a lot of different things.
Yeah, and it also seems like you don't just do this in the kitchen. It seems like you do this with life. I mean, like you're pretty open-minded when it comes to a lot of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I find that all through my life, I've always been kind of very open-minded. I'm one of those people like stand on the back, I watch things and see how things are going and then jump in. Yeah. You know, just don't jump into something. Stand back and see what the situation is for a little bit before you go diving in.
Yeah. And I understand too that your communication is a huge element to your success. You know, a lot of times we hear chefs, well, we don't hear chefs. You know, they don't talk, they don't speak up. And, you know, you got to be loud because there's pots and pans and utensils clicking around. And, you know, what's the key to communicating effectively in that kind of environment?
Confidence is the biggest thing, and experience too. I mean, in a fast-paced working kitchen, all your senses are going on all day long. Right. You know, not just taste, but your physical abilities, hearing, everything is happening at once there. And when you turn your adrenaline on to make that happen, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's you always say about getting into the groove of it. You know, that's you really are. Have to pay attention to yourself and how you are communicating to everybody, because your employees, your chefs, are going to respect you when you come and not only just give them direction, but teach them also. Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about failure, because I know that when you're making a meal, not everything could be perfect. You know, maybe you put in a little bit too much of this, maybe you didn't put enough. Mm-hmm. What happens when you bring out a dish and, you know, it's not to the liking of the president or the people that you're serving? What do you do about that? How do you readjust yourself and not lose confidence and come back stronger than ever the next time?
Just by going back and say, hey, you know, it didn't really happen that much. I think one time I did make like pad thai. Yeah. And it was when George W. was in there and Laura Bush, and I said, I did my Asian nights, I had my Italian nights, you know, I moved things around. Right. I made my own pizza, those type of things. So I made that up thinking they might like it. Mrs. Bush loved it, but President Bush, I'm not sure if he was into it. He said, that's not exactly what I want, you know. He said, so that was like the only time I had like a little bit of rejection. And now both of them were upset, and I got some really bad feedback about one thing. But I was able to just put something together real quick for him and make him happy. And of course, I never made pad thai again for him. Yeah. When if she was there, I would do an occasional pad thai, you know.
Of course.
But you look back and you say, hey, you know, and I'll tell you what, what's the hardest thing of being there is the first 3 months when the president comes in, I'm watching every single plate as it it comes back from the dining room with the butler, I look and see if they push something to the side, any kind of feedback. How do I start to build my repertoire of foods to cook for them every single day?
Right.
Every single day you're cooking for them, and you can't just have meatloaf every Tuesday night. You have to change things up a little bit here. So that was menu writing was the biggest challenge. That would kind of wear you out a little.
And you're saying every day you have to write a new menu?
Well, we would write a menu for the week. Right. By Thursday, I'd write a menu, send it up to the usher's office, and they would have it up in the First Lady's a little desk that she has by Friday afternoon. Wow. And that would be for lunch and dinner for the whole week.
And every single week you have to do this?
And every week, and those weeks keep coming at you, And not only that, then you have the official functions, looking at dietary preferences of a visiting head of state, or is there a theme to one event, or whatever the case might be. We're looking at all those different things to create all these different menus.
Right. I want you guys to keep in mind that we're dealing with an expert here. We're dealing with a 5-star chef who actually worked in the White House. And what I'm basically saying is that his mind was constantly focused. He was always conscious of what he was doing, always looking at the place, always looking at people's facial expressions, always paying attention. It wasn't just a 40-hour job. It wasn't just a 50-hour job. He didn't just have to show up and do his time. He was in it, 168 hours. And
it never left you.
Commitment, full commitment. Tell me about commitment. I mean, you didn't just become a chef. I mean, you've been doing this for almost 40 years. I mean, what goes into this? Mm-hmm. How does one become committed?
Well, first of all, it has to come from here.
Okay.
If it doesn't come from here, forget about it.
Right.
You have to say, this is what I want to do. And tell you, if you come out of culinary school, you're not a chef. You're a cook. Sometimes some of the schools might kind of paint up a little picture of what you might be doing and what you need to do and what you may be, but you're not a chef. You need to go out and pay your dues. I paid my dues.
Right.
I worked in all types of different situations. Some that might have been kind of so-so, other ones that were great. But I'll tell you, every place, even if it's this quality or that quality, I took something away from it to create what you were. Yeah. Out of that whole place, I like this. I'm taking that with me. Yeah. And I have notebooks that I kept on all the places I were, like in France and even before that. I kept notes of everything I saw that was neat and I thought I liked, because you can't remember this stuff, and write it all down.
Guys, remember, even Benjamin Franklin said this, writing is the beginning of all wealth. Mm-hmm. And he has a wealth of knowledge because he wrote it down. How many times we don't see people writing things down. You have to write things down so that you can carve it into your mind and always be prepared, always be ready. So did he get burned? You got burned before. In the kitchen. Did you get cut, by a knife?
Got a few there,
Did he ever bleed? Were there ever, garlic or onions in his eyes? Of course. Of course, but isn't this what you have to do in order to become the person you want to be?
Yeah. Oh, I remember standing there with a 50-pound bag of onions every week at this one hotel when I was a kid there, slicing up for French onion soup. Do you think I smelled good at the end of that night? Yeah. Not at all, but you just kept doing it. You just kept doing it, because you're going to strive to the next level.
Exactly. So building expertise, what do you think led you to become even greater? Because you're already at the White House, you can easily become complacent. You could say, okay, let me just switch up a little bit, but you said, I'm going to take it to the next level. And every single administration you got better. What was it like transitioning from George H.W. Bush to Bill Clinton, and then Bill Clinton to, George W. Bush? What was that like?
Having an open mind. I mean, a lot of chefs that have a big ego could not work at the White House. Yeah. You have to pull back a little bit and give them what they want.
Yeah. When you say big ego, what do you mean?
Well, there's a chef that came to work at the White House once, and on his first day, it was a Saturday morning. He was there for about half an hour. The phone rings. It's Chelsea. John, I want my pancakes.
Chelsea Clinton.
Chelsea Clinton there.
Chelsea
Sorry,
Clinton.
Yeah. And I'd like to have my pancakes this morning. So, okay, so I get out the box and I measure just like you do at home.
Right.
And the chef that came in that morning said, I saw some maple syrup down in the refrigerator. I'll get it out. I said, don't worry about it. Get the bottle stuff. Yeah. But it's maple syrup. It's better. But she likes the bottle stuff. It's maple syrup. He got a big argument with me. I said, okay, fine, go with it, Yeah. I know what's going to happen. We send it up there, and then the butler comes back on the tray with the syrup and says, why'd you send this? Where's the normal syrup at? So I looked at it and I said, all right, this is a big lesson for you. You and I might know that this is the better product, but this is their home. Yeah. I've been here a year and a half already with her. I noticed she wants the bottle stuff. She's a kid. She's 12 years old or 13 at the time, you know? I'm not here to dictate to her what she wants. You have to suck it up sometimes and say, I'm going to give her the bottle syrup because that's what she wants. And if she's happy, I'm happy.
Right, right.
But that was a big lesson on the very first day that he started working there.
Exactly, exactly. And did he stick around?
He was there for a bit.
Yeah. And guys, killing your ego is really big, because the thing is that if you're wrong and strong, then how are you ever going to be right? If you think you know everything, you're never going to learn. So always be learning, always be growing. You know, nowadays we have videos that can teach us. You know, when John started, they didn't have any YouTube videos like the ones you're watching today. Was there any videos?
Nah, not really.
Right?
Nothing. Back in the 70s there,
Yeah.
we didn't have that much to choose from. I had books.
Exactly.
I go through cookbooks that kind of look for some inspiration. And I tell you, in what I do, inspiration's everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere I go out, and if it's a market or if I see a picture come up on a food, I never recreate exactly what I see in something, but I take a slice of something, or, oh, there's an idea, that's a different way to cut something, or fold something over, or whatever. I take something out of it and say, hey, I'm looking for something to do something different. Yeah. And I always say inspiration is everywhere if you open your eyes.
Exactly. And you have to take the monotony out of it, because not only can a dish become boring, or the thing that you produce, but you can get bored. I mean, you can easily do something every single day all the time, but you have to switch things up. You can't be as predictable. So,
yep. And complacency is you know, can be the kiss of death.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
I travel around a lot. I work with a charity down in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's called City of Refuge, and it's a pretty big facility. They house like almost 300 women a night, and a lot of, you know, if they're no place to go, or if it's battered, or just pregnant, nowhere to go, and it's a great organization. And I started working there with the chef there, and after doing quite a few different events with him, he came and shook my hand one day. He said, John, you reignited my passion for food. I was getting to that point where I didn't know what I wanted to do. But after you coming in here quite a few times, and I'd be there like once a month or so doing events with them, it made me feel good that some guy that was in his upper 40s, who'd been cooking now for maybe 20 years, is coming here saying, hey, you know, you've reignited my passion for cooking.
Yeah.
And I said, that was a good day.
Exactly. And guys, keep in mind, you know, you might be on the grind. You may not even know how good you're actually doing. You're just doing your thing, and people are watching. They're watching what you say. They're watching what you do. They're watching how you act. And they're taking notes in their mind. They're taking notes on paper. And you can be their inspiration, you know. So always keep that in mind. You know, you might even think you're performing badly, but you're actually doing pretty good. So keep it up, guys. What would you say is the biggest secret to your success?
It just has to be passion.
You got to love what you do.
You got to love what you do.
And you got to do what you love.
And if you just keep driving at it and keep, you know, in my mind, I'm always looking for something different, like we just talked about here. But you got to keep that love alive for us by saying, hey, I'm not just going to close the book and say, yeah, every Tuesday night I'm going to do this. You know,
Yeah.
You have to have an open mind there and keep that love alive, no matter what it is, either if it's cooking or if it is another type of trade.
Right. Mm-hmm. And guys, passion is not burning out after 3 months and just quitting because something didn't work. Passion is going after it and knowing that you know that this is the right thing, even if people are telling you you're crazy, even if they think you're absurd. Just really believing in yourself, because remember, if you believe in yourself, everybody believes in you. You know, so.
Absolutely, you know. I mean, I might work on a big event and work for multiple days. I might start the day at 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're serving at 9 o'clock at night. And my business can be kind of tough on the body, you know. But I tell you what, you might be tired and you're pushing that last dish out, and then afterwards you might go out and you see the people and they give you a round of applause, they tell you how much you enjoyed it. All that stress and stuff melts away. All that pain and suffering kind of melts away until the next day, really. But at that moment, you feel great. You feel like, this is what I did. I've accomplished what I wanted to do for this day. And what I do in cooking is an immediate reaction. It's not like I'm working a petri dish and waiting for 3 months for it to grow. If whatever I do, I get an immediate reaction. If it's, you know, thumbs up or thumbs down. Fortunately, most of the time it's thumbs up.
Of course.
But to go out there and feel that energy from your clients, say that was a great dish. You know how many times people said, I think that was the best dish I've ever eaten. Yeah. And that makes you feel good. It's like, hey, I just made a difference in this person's life for this moment here. It might have been just a meal, but if they said something like that, that must really, they said it from their heart. They didn't just say it just to, you know, make me happy. Yeah. And if I heard it so many times, I have to start to believe that, you know, maybe that was the best dish they ever had at that point in time, you know? And that makes you feel good. And that was my job, if it's cooking for somebody like you or one of my clients, or if it's the President of the United States, you know. I go out and I do my events now. I tell sometimes a group of women, say, you're all my first ladies this evening, you know, and they all love that. Oh, really? You know? But, you know, no matter who they are, if you're the President, First Lady, or if you're Daniel Alley having dinner, you know, I'm going to treat all that the same way. I have the same respect for the food I'm going to them as I would for one of my clients.
I like that. And that's really important. You know, you serve with a passion, and you know, one thing that you said is about feedback. Sometimes people allow feedback to just get to their head, and oh, I'm the best, you know, no one can stop me. But you take it as a compliment. You take it as, you know, I worked for this, I deserve this, and it's kind of like a form of celebration is what it sounds like.
What I'm doing, I'm continuing. I'm going to keep driving. I think I'm doing the right thing now, you know. This is all working out pretty good, so I'm just going to keep doing my thing and then also make some adjustments here and there and always look for, like I said, new inspiration for maybe new dishes.
Yes, yes. Guys, this has been really good. I want you guys to leave a comment below in the section and let me know what your thoughts are. Right now, we're actually going to do a quick cooking demonstration, a quick bonus for you guys. But make sure you check out the book, Dining at the White House, From the President's Table to Yours. So, John, thank you so much. I really appreciate seeing you and being here with me.
It's great to be here.
I hope you enjoy our house. And of course, guys, this is the first time I'm welcoming you into my house. So let's jump right into the kitchen, shall we?
Let's go.
All right. All right, guys, I'm with John Moeller right here, and we're about to make some herb-crusted chicken. So, John, where did you come up with this recipe? And tell me more about this and what you have to do.
Well, we had the President of Indonesia coming to the White House. It was actually a week or two after 9/11 to have a meeting with the President, and it was a luncheon. And I was thinking, what can I do with this piece of chicken? And I thought about a recipe when I worked in France, working with these fiend herbs. Fiend herbs are parsley, flat leaf, chives, tarragon, and some chervil if you can find it. You can't use thyme, you can't use oregano, and rosemary. Those things would not work. These are considered fiend herbs. And this chef I worked with used to make a rabbit terrine with it, but I really enjoyed the flavor. So I said, let me see how I can attach it to that piece of chicken. So what I do is I chopped up all the herbs. So this is the chives. We're going to put equal amounts of the chive, of the chopped parsley, and also the tarragon. And we're going to mix these all up in equal amounts. And once that's done, then we're going to set up.
And I love how it's all fresh, too.
Absolutely. Freshness is where it's at. If you didn't have chives and you were going to use like dry chives, it's not going to work. You do not want to use any dry herbs in this respect here. So what we do now is we're going to season our chicken. I like working with sea salt. This is fresh granulated sea salt. A little hit of that. Some fresh milled pepper, black pepper. Season this side here. I have also put a little bit of salt and a little pepper into some flour. We're going to stir all that up. So we got the chicken. We're going to put half of it on the flour, and then we're going to put in this egg white. The egg white's going to help us create the crust. So on the side, this is the skin side of the chicken. We will put just the flour on that side. Let's shake off all the excess. I don't want big clumps of flour on there. That's perfect, just like that. Do this again on the other one here.
Well, this looks pretty easy to make. This is in your book, right?
It is. It's in my book, Dining at the White House. And what's neat about it is I wanted to showcase the menus that we did at the White House. And so you'll see the menu that the calligraphy department finished up with, who it was for, and even the wines that were served that day is all available. So now we shake off all that excess. Now we're going to do each chicken with the skin side, with the flour only into the egg white. You want just enough flour to make the egg white stick. All right? And then we're going to take the fiend herbs and make a little coating on it. All right, so there we go. That's what we're doing so far. We didn't do the other side, only one side of the chicken breast. So we're going to take these guys here. This is the fiend herbs. We're going to sprinkle it across the chicken breast.
Looks pretty good.
Can you smell that? Feel how aromatic it is?
Guys, if you could smell this tarragon, it's amazing.
And when you first chop it up, freshly chopped and mix it in, you capture most of what we refer to as the parfum, the perfume of the herb. If you chop it up like an hour or two ago and then try and use it, you're going to lose some of that essence. All right, so now we evenly coated all the chicken on the egg white side with the herbs. Now we're going to go over to our pan. All right, so we're going to take the chicken and we're going to get a nice medium high heat temperature on your pan, a little bit of vegetable oil, shake that oil all around, and then we're going to take one by one on the egg white side where the herbs are, put that straight into the oil. We want the egg to coagulate immediately and trap those herbs right onto the chicken. So that's the idea.
You make it sound so easy.
I've done it a few times. All right, so, and one last thing is we're going to take this and just season the underside of the chicken now. A little salt, a little pepper, and what I have over here, this is going to be the accompaniment. It's going to be some of the garnishes on the plate there. So I have some, we're going into springtime, so I got some asparagus, some mixed colored carrots, and one of my favorites is shiitake mushrooms. I love to saute these in a little bit of butter and get a little bit of browning on there. It'll accent the dish very nicely.
Yeah, and you have some good color to it too. Everything.
And that's what it is, about eye appeal. You eat with your eyes first.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah, so it's almost ready.
All right, and about how long do we serve these?
These are probably about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, depending on the temperature. That's a good temperature. You don't want it screaming hot. If you got smoke coming out of the pan, do not put that in there because the egg white's going to burn. We don't want to make it brown. We want to hold on to that beautiful color that's on this side now. See? All right. So now the egg white has coagulated and trapped those herbs against the chicken. And I was just messing around with this one day, and it worked. End up being on the plate of the president. So where the inspiration came from that was taking an idea from France of those mixed herbs and saying, hey, how can I attach that to the chicken? And then afterwards, I even did it with a piece of mahi-mahi, and it did a great job with that too.
It would be good with tuna.
Good deal. All right, so now we just want to cook the other side, get a little bit of a crust on that. Going to turn that up a little bit now. Actually, if it's a little bit browner on the other side, it's not a big deal. But on this side here, if I got it too hot, you're going to lose that beautiful green color. So it was for the president of Indonesia.
Wow.
He enjoyed this at the White House at a working lunch.
He must have loved it.
Cleaned his plate.
I think I'll clean my plate too.
All right, so now I'm going to turn the fire off, and we're going to take each one of these out of here, and we're going to go and put these in the oven. It may take about 8 minutes or so. All right, so we're going to put this in the 350-degree oven for about 8 minutes or so. All right, so we cooked these in the oven. They're just done. We're going to take one of our chicken breasts, put it down there. We're going to slice this and put it on our plate. So for plate up, I cooked up some asparagus, some mixed colored carrots. We might as well get these set up on the plate so that it looks good. All right, so got that. It's all about presentation. So maybe open them up like that. I don't like food being outside the rim too much. I think that looks good. Now I have some mixed colored carrots. Maybe we can drop a few across here like this.
Look how beautiful that is. Wow, wow, wow.
And then some mushrooms. Well, maybe we can just put some mushrooms in the front like this. All righty. So these are the sauteed shiitake mushrooms, mixed colored carrots, and asparagus. And so did you know there's a right way and a wrong way to cut a piece of chicken?
Really?
So we talked about the wings earlier. The wing joint is right here. All of the grain runs to the wing joint. So to cut it, you always want to go against the grain. So all the grain is running to the wing joint. We're going to take this guy and cut it like this. If you go cut against the grain, it'll be a little more tender, even for a piece of chicken. All right, so now we're going to take this guy here. We sliced it. I like slicing meats and putting it on the plate like this. And we'll just kind of separate it out a little bit, fan it out. And wow, we have herb-crusted chicken with some fresh vegetables.
Wow. Let's have a feast. All right, guys, thanks a lot. And of course, thank you to John. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Great to be here.
See See you guys next time.
Bon appetit.